Welcome, everyone. We are going to have a very interesting practitioner's viewpoint episode as we are discussing how is it to have your own company and work with elite athletes with the research background and PhD. And we have a great guest for this episode. He has done his exercise physiology PhD at Universidad de Castilla-La Mancha. After that, he has worked as a researcher in human performance at sports sciences in University of Las Palmas. And he has also worked with elite athletes as a sport performance analyst and consultant. And then he has founded his own company, Sobre Rendimiento. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest, Dr. Jaime de la Calle. Welcome, Jaime.
Hello, Oli. Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me. My pleasure to stay here.
Yeah, great to have you. So, would you like to tell in the beginning a little bit about your story?
Sure. Yes. Well, my story began when I was an athlete. I was a water polo player at a long time ago, and I was always curious, about how I can perform better, how I can do better. So from that curiosity, I decided to study sports science and so on in first course when I start to studying exercise physiology all related with how the body works in exercise. It's attracted me a lot, so I start to get more knowledge about physiology and from that, so I finished my degree and start collaborating with some laboratory exercise physiology laboratory and and from there I start my career. So always I was focused on performance, how I can do better in performance, but using the knowledge of the physiology and how can we change or how can do better in our training sessions, in our techniques, in our strategies to perform better. So yeah, from there and until I create my own business has passed a long time, but it's was a beautiful way.
So you did your PhD about exercise physiology, and then you worked as a researcher, and then in a company. Could you tell about a little bit about your research? Was it always uh, linked to elite performance? What kind of studies, what kind of projects you
Mhm.
were involved in?
Well, actually, I had to say that I didn't yet finish the PhD. So I made all the experimental phase some years ago. But as I had any other goals like creating my business, I still have to present my PhD. So, but it will be soon. It will be very very soon. But no, not always. I had been related with elite athletes, but I thought it was important to know what are the techniques, the research techniques that is used in exercise physiology. So let's say you can use a DIXA, right? So for example, quantify muscle muscle mass, bone mass, and so on. And you can
Mm,
apply to different studies, but it also works for elite athletes and perform matters. You can do, for example, cardiopulmonary exercise testing with another purposes of healthy research or investigations, but also works for perform matters.
mm,
So I didn't really matter to be involved in another kind of studies. I think everything is useful for you. For it doesn't matter actually what's the final way you will take. But I had to study a lot and to learn a lot of techniques. And from that knowledge and from that techniques, then you can choose. You can see what's the utility on your final, let's say, for example, PhD or your final job or whatever you want to do in your career. So we start with some fatigue studies. We start with some healthy studies. So, but everything is it's very useful for your career at the end.
Mm. Yeah, and before making your own company, you were working as an analyst and consultant. Could you tell a little bit
Mhm.
about that?
Yes, yes. Well, I was very lucky. The Spanish Council of Experts offer a position to create the first laboratory for elite athletes in the high performance center in Madrid.
Mm.
So I got the job, and I had just a couple of rooms and nothing else, and it was really challenging, but um, also very beautiful. The way that I start to okay, I have like 14, 15 sports to assist, and I have a limited budget. So I had to think, okay, what I can offer to this federation, to this sports with this budget, and how can I create some test, or how can I equip all the laboratory with the most useful tools. So yeah, we started to buying some machines, and starting to spread that we had a laboratory for them to support, to increase the performance, to transfer the knowledge from sports science to actually to work out, and yeah, we started like that, and we actually being more known by the people, and finally after 2 3 years we were full of work. Everyone missed this a lot, and it was also very interesting stage.
Mm. Yeah, so basically in exercise physiology and university labs, we have a lot of different devices, and you can measure many
Hmm.
different things. Devices might be really expensive, sometimes a little bit challenging also to use and
Hmm.
apply. How did you start choosing the equipment for the athletes lab? What were the kind of criteria? What are the best kind of cost benefit ratio?
Hmm. Well, we tested a lot. You can imagine, before you implement something, you have to test it. You have to create a protocol. Then you of course yourself in terms of performance, because you test yourself along your career. So once you do the protocol, and you got the data, then you have to ask yourself, okay, is this reliable? Is this data true? Is this going to work for the coaches? Are the coaches going to understand this data, or am I wasting the time in testing with the athletes? So basically, you buy the machine, whatever you think it's best to assist those exports. You start creating protocols, being with some flexibility, and then you finally check if it's worth or not to test the athletes. But yeah, some basic things, like for example strength assessments. It's applicable for all sports, almost all sports. But we also design some different protocols for each sport. Each sport has his own necessities. So we also sometimes we rent the equipment to make some
Mm.
tests. So um, I mean, you don't have to have everything, but what I mean is that you finally can find solutions, for if you want to do something. So it's not a matter to have a big budget and try to do the best that you can. No, you can do little, and that little thing will work. Um, can 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 mean a lot, right,
Mm.
in terms of performance.
Mm. And after building the lab and testing athletes, you went to make your own company. Could you tell your story? How did you get motivated to make? How did you take the leap for that?
Yeah. Well, after 2016, so we had um, a very good achievement in Olympic in Rio after Olympic Games in Rio.
Hmm.
So I decided to have a break for some month, almost a year. So I quit and to have a think about what I want to do. And yeah, finally it came me to the same place, right? So what I was doing, helping the athletes. So actually, I was at that time I was focused and interested in how can I do better with coaches and athletes, and I realized that there's a lack of implementation, not only in let's say federations, but also in clubs. In a very high elite athletes, there is a lack of implementation of technology and techniques and strategies of high performance. So I wanted to do something with this, right? And also I was more focused on the daily decisions.
Hmm.
So what I realized in my stage as consultant in a high performance center in Madrid was like you can do some testing, let's say more or less often, but it doesn't really affect to your performance. So
Hmm.
what affects your performance, what enhances your performance is your daily decisions, right? And those decisions are made by coaches. So first you have to be engaged with the coach and try to convince him. I always say that my job is actually to try to convince, right, the coaches. So try to convince the coaches and apply whatever you think is best, but on daily basis, right?
Hmm.
And here suddenly I thought that I had to create something for daily monitoring, right,
Hmm.
on athletes. And from here I started to create this project, and that is what motivates me more to be on daily contact with customers.
Hmm. Yeah, let's not go yet to the daily monitoring. Let's first talk a little bit more about making the business. So it's quite a big jump to start your own business. And did you already have interested customers? Did you already know that these ones will buy from me before you made the company, or did you make it first and then start to look for customers?
Yes, yes. So I thought a lot about this. Actually, I can create a services. I can offer some things, but actually, I didn't know if this was going to work, right? The demands of the services. So this was a bet. This was a bet that I made. Why? Because people doesn't know. People don't
Mm.
know the what we can do to improve performance. So I decided to create the business basis on this thought. At the beginning was PhD students. Well, they know they we don't get any knowledge about marketing, about branding, about CRM. I think it's called.
Mm.
About how you to manage the customers and so on, presence on social media, CEO. So all these things you have to learn apart, and it's quite hard, and actually you spend much more time on these things than in your really matter. But it's a way that you need to do. Yeah, business are are business.
Mm. And how did you start? Like many of the equipment are expensive. You were looking for daily monitoring. How did you get going first that you were able to invest to something and then get the customers and still stay
Yeah.
afloat?
Yeah. Well, I offer first the services that I knew I can do, but I didn't really invest much on
Mm,
equipment. Um, you this is a tip for someone that can create a business. So don't spend money if it's not required. So I had the thought, okay, if I have a customer who is coming to me and say, hey, I wanna, let's say, I wanna, let's say, muscle power test. Okay,
mm,
in that moment you can get the equipment because you know you're going to have some profits from it, but not
mm,
before. And
mm,
then you see what are the demands of the people, right? Because you cannot spend money for something that you are not going to use, right?
mm,
So be smart. I cannot have the same laboratory and same equipment as I had in the laboratory, but I can have something that is profitable in respecting regarding to the demands of the customers.
mm. Yeah, and I think there's, for example, one way which is quite often used in business is that you start selling first before you even have it.
Yeah.
Like for
Mhm.
example, you can start marketing and selling web course that will
Mhm.
start in 2 months, and if you get enough people, then you will actually do the course. If you don't get enough people, you can then say that, I didn't get enough people, so I cannot make it. It doesn't make
Yeah,
sense.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so that's one possibility. And I was also thinking when you said that if you have, for example, somebody wants to do strength testing or something, could you rent equipment? Could you go to some other lab and say that, all right, I will pay like 100 euros per hour or something, and you can kind of try to do first with the rental equipment or with some arrangement.
Exactly. Yes, yes, we actually do. We rent equipment because it's not, it's very, very difficult to test an athlete that are training in a different city as you, for example, 300, 400 kilometers. So the athlete have to spend some hours of coming and getting tested and then coming back, and then you're
Mm,
losing one day of training, which is not
mm,
good, right? So these kind of things in context you need to analyze pretty well. So only, for example, when you have some customers in the same place, then you can move to their training place and perform the testing. You need to figure out if you, for example, can find a gym or the machine that you would like to use, and then with the renting equipment, then you create, let's say, the small and laboratory in a couple hours, and then you make testing. So yeah, this is the way to do these things, at least for starting. So, but it's very challenging, but it's funny at the same time.
mm. And how did you start marketing? How did you start approaching teams and athletes when you started your business?
Well, basically, you use contacts. So here, the contacts are the most important. If you have worked previously with some people and those people, they know that you are serious, that you work fine, that you have created something different, then probably they will trust you. So marketing is, no one is coming to you and say, hey, I want to increase the performance and I want to make better, do better, and that's very, very complicated. um, yeah, you need to have a good network. um, Sorry, not network. Um, Networking. Yeah, it's networking, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Networking with some people related, depends on the sport, and do some social life with them. So take coffees with coaches, with athletes. They have to know you. They have to know
Mm,
you, and especially in this field, that is very reduced. So elite athletes are quite few, and to make good relationships with them, it's important to sell your products.
Hmm. Yeah, and how is your product? Do you have like a monthly fee for athletes, or do you always customize an offer, or how do you go about? And do you have an initial offer that they can test working with you?
Yeah. Well, we are more focused now in the application that we have developed about, as I mentioned before, daily monitoring.
Hmm.
So we are very, very focused on this. Actually, we also do testing and some other kind of courses, trainings, and consultations. But this one is the, let's say, the main one. So I had some strategies at the beginning. I just tried to sell the products with no testing. Then I changed my mind, and then yeah, I'm offering some trial periods, and most of the people are getting it. So as we customize every project, we cannot say this is the value, right? Because
Hmm.
we spend a lot of hours in customize every project. Um, yeah, so the problem was that there are a lot of AMS, athletes management systems, but everyone, each of them, it's different, and it's not very flexible, because it's not the same to create something for soccer, to athletics, to swimming, to tennis. Is completely different. You need to take into account the coach needs, the sport needs. Um, Everyone has their own philosophy. So we take all these things into account and create uh, their own project. So yeah, we work with both. We have annual fee and monthly fee as well.
Mm. And you said that now you have the free testing. What kind of
Mm.
things it involves? How much do you put hours for the free part?
Well, this is also a good bet we do. But my uncle told me, if customers say or customers see that your product is working and it have good quality, and so after the trial period, to uh, they will not leave, right? So
Mm.
they will keep. So yeah, this is a bet we are doing. We spend those hours in the trial period, and then pray for the customers to get the services. But no, yeah, in 90% of the cases they do, because they know that it's working properly. And another important thing is that we don't leave the coaches and athletes alone. We always have human support. So
Mm.
we don't believe that we have to give the monitoring control to a computer, right? But to people, to a person. And this is the most complicated, the interpretation of data on daily basis.
Mm. Yeah, and what do you see as the biggest challenges getting customers, getting the business running, and what are the most important things you have learned?
Mhm. Well, I learned that you need to be very, very, very consistent. You start to contact some federations for some sports around the world, and you start sending them an email, and there will be almost never a reply, right? In 95%. And so don't give up, right? So that's normal. When you see your inbox, then you see a lot of emails, and then you delete all of them almost automatically, right? So this is the same. So my tip is to don't give up, and then try the next thing, which is try to give a call. Try to give a call, get in touch with someone, prepare a speech or something. Um, if they refuse, have a plan B. So this is a strategy that you are making after hundred of calls, and I will say that probably you didn't reach the proper person. So if you reach the proper person and you're able to sell your product in a good way, probably you will succeed on this.